telepathy in our daily lives. Yes, telepathy does exist within our daily lives. We don't really recognize it. It's something that's always there. We don't really pay it much attention. It just interweaves our experiences, and we ignore it as just being there without seeing it's there or realizing it's there. We communicate with each other on a subconscious level all the time. It's not just reading body language, although that is part of it. You can be on the telephone and pick up information that isn't said. Yes, tone of voice is another method of communication. Subtle nuances in the tone of voice gives us information about the other person and what their meanings are as well. But telepathy is there too. You may meet someone new and have a feeling about them. You may meet another person and have a feeling about them. Those two feelings are never the same. Think about all the people that you've met recently and the feelings you get when you're with them. Yes, some of it you may be observing them, perhaps stereotyping them somewhat, looking at their clothing and stereotyping them, the way they're speaking, their accent, how healthy they look even, and drawing conclusions from that, not consciously but subconsciously. But there's something else too, something else you can't quite put your finger on. When our electromagnetic fields intersect, when we are in close proximity, telepathy works even better. You get that subconscious feeling or intuition about someone, and you're picking up telepathic messages. Now, you're not decoding them verbally within the mind, but there's a knowing there of how they think, what they're thinking, just a little knowing. You get an impression of the mode of thought that that person has, just a little bit. But we ignore this. Now, telepathy is not. There's no sending out a probe into their brain to scan their brain. It's more like, as I always describe it, file sharing. So we are part of this one energetic creation, this information-based illusion, if you will. And we're within this creation part of it, sharing it, all hooked up in it, our consciousnesses. So being part of this unified field soup of information and being connected to each other, we pick up on little bits of information, but it's experienced as thoughts that feel as if they're our own. All thoughts, of course, feel like they're our own, but it's learning to tell the difference between thoughts that are our own or thoughts that we've picked up from someone else. And a way to tell that is that there's no particular trail of thought leading to it. It just pops in there as if from nowhere. You might get a visual there in the mind's eye, but usually telepathy is a sense of knowing. And it can manifest as having an idea that seems like your own idea, but really it's what someone else, the person next to you, is just thinking. You've shared that thought with them a millisecond later, but blurted it out, and they look at you as if, oh, I was going to say that. So if you pay attention to those times when the person with you has said, oh, I was just thinking that, or I was just going to say that, or I was just going to ask you that, then consider that you have tuned into their vibration at that moment and file shared with them. You shared their thoughts. It's about the sharing of thoughts, the pooling of thoughts. No one will send a beam into your brain and extract your thoughts. It's just a sharing. And so you see, it goes unnoticed so much. Because if we're sharing some thoughts and even values, beliefs, intentions and behaviours, then they just feel like our own. So what about telepathy with the masses? What about telepathy with the world? Well, we're all within the Earth's electromagnetic field, vibrating at the same frequency as our brains. We're all connected within it, sharing our thoughts without even knowing it. So you get inventions that are invented by several different people all over the world at different times. They've all been telepathically picking up on each other's thoughts. This is the problem with the electromagnetic pollution that we have in our homes, from cell phone masts, Wi-Fi, microwave ovens, and all of this emits microwave radiation, don't you know? We are subject to so much more microwave radiation now than humanity has ever been. And I firmly believe this is disrupting our ability to telepathically communicate with each other. It's disrupting our connections with each other, making us docile, making us mind blind to each other. Telepathy is just a label for a spiritual ability, if you will, like being empathic, picking up on other people's emotions. Telepathy is picking up on people's thoughts, mind to mind, like communication. Claircognizance is the feeling of knowing you get during spirit communication, or psychic, that's literally reading someone else's mind, but it's not a two-way thing. Telepathy is classically classed as the thing which is the two-way communication. So it's knowing each other's thoughts, communicating subconsciously. So there's a lot of crossover in these terms. But the bottom line is paying attention to those little coincidences where someone says, I was just thinking that, etc. And knowing that when you've spent a lot of time with someone, your vibration really aligns and you start to finish each other's sentences, and that's not a coincidence. You really are aligning and communicating telepathically. So pay attention to what that feels like, and you start to be able to tell the difference between your own thoughts and ideas and those that you've picked up from others. And then you can start to tell even more when you've been telepathically picking up information from the mass consciousness. It happens to me where I suddenly have a thought about something that has happened in the news. I can predict, if you will, what has happened. I open a news app and see it has. And that wasn't prediction, that was me just telepathically taking it from the mass consciousness, because the mass consciousness was collectively thinking about it at the time. So in closing, pay attention to your telepathy. Know that it's a skill of the inner self, and it is there. And when you spend a lifetime not paying any attention, then it won't be developed. But by paying attention, trust me, it starts to develop more and more. And by telling others around you who will listen and not think you're mad, of course, you can work on it together. It doesn't often work so well when you say, what colour am I thinking of? It's those thoughts that just pop in there as if they're your own. Trying to guess what they're thinking is something different. It's all about bringing ourselves closer together with others in oneness and love and understanding.